Hello, and welcome back to another episode of One of Us is Talking. I am here today with Mars, and we are going to be talking about Maeve in season 1 and season 2. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So, one thing that I thought really stuck out to me for Maeve was her growth from season 1 to season 2. What did you think about that? And how did you think season 2 Maeve was a little bit different or even the same as season 1 Maeve?
I loved that in season two, she seemed more of her own person. I feel like in season one, we really only saw her in scenes with Bronwyn or like connected to Bronwyn. And in season two, we got to see her being a lot more independent and she got a lot more screen time, which is something I really loved.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like in season 1, she was more of a side character, but we really got to see a lot more of Maeve and then Melissa's acting in season 2, which I thought was great. And I don't know, I think her relationship with Janae was also so important in season 2. I thought they were so cute. And I'm not thrilled with how it ended for them, but I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm not thrilled either, especially with the possibility that we may never see them on screen together again. But I do really love the good parts of their relationship we were able to get in season two.
Yeah, I feel like they really grew in season 2. And in season 1, I almost felt like maybe it was a little bit rushed towards the end there, but they really kind of fleshed that out in season 2. And did you have a favorite scene of theirs?
I think my favorite scene was in season two, episode five, when Maeve and Janae are in the pool house together and they start to sort of have a little bit of a makeout session and then they stop. And I really love that conversation that they had. It shows that they really care about each other and that they really respect and listen to each other, which is something that I think it's great to have the representation not only of sort of healthy relationships, but also of sapphics in media, which we don't get as much of.
Yes, I definitely agree. That was a favorite scene of mine too. And I feel like it was so important for the characters and their growth. And I feel like Jess and Melissa did such a phenomenal job at portraying that. And I think even the writing and the lines where Maeve says that she loves watching Janae glow, like I feel like that was like, it was almost emotional. I don't know if you felt the same way, but that was probably one of my favorite lines from
I
Maeve to Janae.
I loved that. It kind of, when I first watched it, it had me screaming into my pillow. It was so sweet.
It was, and I think that was just so great to see with them. And you're right. I mean, their ending was maybe not the best, especially with the possibility of not seeing it again and the cancellation. But I think that also seeing how they were throughout the series, I know that they'll bounce back from it. Like if we have to come up with like hypothetical situations.
Yeah, I feel like they were able in season two to develop more of healthy skills with one another. And I think hypothetically, or if we ever see them, I feel like they will be able to have a conversation about it, which maybe they wouldn't have been able to have at the start of season two.
Yes, I definitely agree. And yeah, I think like I brought up Melissa's portrayal as Maeve, and I know a lot of people thought it was fantastic. And I think she really brought Maeve to life in my eyes. What did you think about Melissa's portrayal, and how do you think that added to Maeve's character for you?
I loved Melissa's portrayal so much. I feel like it added a sort of edginess to the character that we never got to see in the book series. And she really brought some of the lines to places that I thought that they wouldn't be able to go to. And she's a brilliant actor as well. So I feel like it was a very good choice, and her portrayals were just so amazing.
Yes, I agree. And I even feel like in season 1 and season 2, well, more season 1 when Maeve was more of a side character, I feel like it was Melissa who her acting abilities really shine through. And that helped Maeve, even in season 1, be more of a well rounded and prominent character. And I just think Melissa did phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it really brought her out from being just like Bronwyn's little sister to like her own person, even though we didn't get to see her as much in season one.
Yes, definitely. And I think that goes into my next question. Maeve's relationship with Bronwyn was so complicated. And in a way, I can see both point of views. I can see why Bronwyn wanted to protect her, but I can see why Maeve wanted to kind of go and feel important. What did you think about that? I thought that it was well done, but I do in a way wish they were a little more sisterly.
I have to agree with that. I feel like in the earlier part of season one, Bronwyn was more trying to protect her and honestly was treating her more of a little kid than she was. And I feel like by the time we got to season two, she seemed a lot more fed up with the way Bronwyn was treating her, and yet Bronwyn didn't change. And I wish we had definitely gotten to see more scenes of them getting along, or even as like just like having conversations as sisters in season two, especially because I feel like we got a couple of those in season one that were really fun to see. And I also love Melissa and Marianne Lee's chemistry on screen. I feel like it really can shine through.
Yes, I definitely agree. I feel like Marianne and Melissa together, they just have great scenes. And I feel like it would have been great to see the two of them interact, especially because that relationship was so rocky. And I don't know. Like I said, I see how they're both of their point of views, but I also feel for Maeve because they're making all these life-changing decisions and leaving her out of it. So I was very torn on the relationship, but I agree it would have been nice to see more.
I feel like those decisions that the main murder club is making that they're leaving her out of still affect her life, because they affect Bronwyn's life, and the decision about them going to jail would conclude Maeve having to lose her sister for who knows how long. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons Maeve just wanted to be included, because those decisions still came back to her whether they realized it or not.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, especially because for me, at least, when I was watching episode 5 and they're all kind of talking about, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to turn ourselves in? And they leave Maeve out. I was kind of like, wait a second. Not only is it her sister who's going to be going to jail too and making this huge life decision, but also the person they're dating is involved in it and going to leave too. And even Cooper and Addie, like maybe they weren't as close with Maeve, but they were all still kind of like her social group. So she's being left with no one.
Yeah, I
So
definitely feel like that's would have happened, and that's why she wanted to be more included.
yes, no, I so agree. And I think once you kind of watch the season, you can see that. But I don't know. I didn't think Maeve's character was bad. I know that was very much up in the air, especially with what she did in regards to Fiona, with pretending to be on Fiona's side. What did you think about that?
I think that what she had to do to save the five murder club members from going to jail or from even going as far as being killed. And there was no way that when Maeve was talking with Fiona and plotting her own sort of double-sided twist or whatever, there was no way she could have accounted for what Fiona would have done to the boat or what Fiona would have done to Bronwyn. I feel like there was no way that she could have known that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think Bronwyn never would have let Maeve do that if she knew about it. So that would have been
Absolutely not.
bad. And like Bronwyn would have been so mad if she knew like she was in cahoots with Fiona for a few. So I understand why Maeve couldn't tell any of them. I think you're right. Fiona obviously was not like Maeve couldn't account for that when she set the boat on fire and stabbed Bronwyn. Like I feel like even for Fiona, that was a spur of the moment decision.
Yeah, I feel like that really shines through in the episodes that she did not plan on doing it until she got to that point.
Yeah, and they would all be in jail if it wasn't for me. Like they're lucky that they were able to.
Absolutely, yes.
And I know this is gonna sound so bad, but at the end of the day, like they all lived through it.
True.
So they all did make it. Maybe some trauma in there, but I don't know. Maeve, she was trying her best, and I think justice for Maeve. I don't think she did anything
Absolutely.
wrong.
On the
Maeve,
boat when her and Addie are locked in the yacht room, I don't know what they're called really. She goes, she says to Addie, she was like, you weren't supposed to get hurt, which I feel like that's such a powerful line. Like, she doesn't care that she's also like suffocating because of the smoke. She just cares that about Addie and doesn't want Addie to get hurt from this situation.
yeah, that's such a good point. I never thought of that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Because it shows that, first of all, like we said, she didn't account for any of that. And she really cares about Addie and the rest of them more than herself in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like her decisions of what she did was so selfless, but none of them realized it.
That's such a good point. And even how it ended with her and Janae, I feel like Janae had every right to be mad, obviously.
Yeah,
But I think things could have been a lot worse if Maeve didn't step up.
that's true. I definitely see where Janae is coming from in that last scene, but I feel like they need to realize how much Maeve actually saved them.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I even think that ending scene between Maeve and Janae is one of my favorites, not favorite scenes, but I think it shows a lot about who they are as people individually and how they deal with kind of hurt. So I think that was good to see, but not having the third season is what's making it worse.
Yeah, it also says so much without either of them actually having dialogue between each other. Just the looks on their faces says so much about what they're thinking about their relationship and about what happened. But I really wish that we would get a third season to see them move past that state.
Mhm. I so agree. I feel like I've even been like, even if they could just do like a final episode, like a long episode, just to get those
Yes.
answers, because we were left with so many questions. But yeah, I mean, did you have a favorite Maeve scene in either season one or season two?
There's so many good scenes with her, but I think my favorite scene just that shows her character is in season 2, and it's episode 4, when the group is in Addie's room and she's typing away on her computer. She figures out how to message Simon Says back, and the group is like, what should we do? But she just goes for it, and then the group kind of gets mad at her for doing that when really she is trying to figure out a way to save them and get Simon Says out in the light.
Yeah, I mean, they were obviously this had to happen to move the plot forward, but the murder club was just kind of sitting around and doing nothing with Simon Says. Like it was just kind of Maeve was the one who put it into action. And I feel like it's true. Like she didn't really even care in a way that she was just going to push forward with it. And without that, they never would have in reality figured out who this person was. And people were dying. So it kind of was like a time sensitive thing. And Maeve really pushed forward for that.
I also think, what was it, earlier in that episode or the episode before, Nate and Bronwyn are in the hotel, in Giselle's hotel room, and Bronwyn goes, I hate to say this, but we should have brought Maeve, because they're like, I feel like they need to realize how much she actually does for them.
Yeah, especially because Bronwyn's smart and she can figure things out, but Maeve has like that technological aspect to her. And she's able to like get through all the computers and the text messages for them. So I think I hate when people say Maeve really isn't a part of the murder club, and included when Bronwyn says that, because she is. Like, I just don't think they would have made as much progress without her.
No, I feel like no way they could have gotten into like the principal's computer or messaging back Simon Says or figuring out all these things. Like they wouldn't have been able to do that without her, just because she is so knowledgeable and all that sort of technology standpoint that Simon Says also is an expert on.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think technology in season two was such a bigger theme with the text messaging game. So I think it really was Maeve's time to shine.
Absolutely.
And I think, I mean, obviously the books are so different from the show. Did you read the book before the show, or have you read the book?
I read the books not before the show came out, but before I knew or watched the show. I read the first book, and then I think around the same time I figured out that there was a show, I picked up the second one.
Okay. So what did you think about the characters and the storylines that were a little bit different? Was Maeve your favorite character in the book, or did that change once you saw the show?
I think Maeve was even less in the books, especially not the second one, but in the first one.
Mhm.
I feel like she's even less a part of the story and the plot line. So I liked her as a character, but we never got to see her as much. And I feel like Bronwyn might have been my favorite book character.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because I think Bronwyn is the most prominent, in my opinions, in the first book. I would,
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, so I definitely feel that way. I agree. And so you read the book before the show, but how did you find out about One of Us is Lying?
So I got the first book as a Christmas present in 2021,
Oh,
and I picked it up and I really enjoyed it. And then I think it was one of my friends who told me that there was a show because she saw me reading the book. And I figured out like what it was on, and then I got like I downloaded the Peacock app and I watched the episodes and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I read the books first, but for some reason, even though the show was so different, it just hooked me. And that kind of goes into my next question. Like, why did you decide to say a dedicated fan of One of Us is Lying, the show especially?
The show was really, it kind of brought me a lot of comfort, and I loved the cast and the plot and the portrayals of the characters that I loved in the book so much. And I feel like getting to see that on screen and without having to like obviously have a book with me all the time, like I can have clips of the episodes and just like watch those.
Yeah,
And
no,
it just brought something that I had loved so much on paper to screen and to life, and the entire cast and crew made it so awesome.
yeah, I really agree. I think the cast and the crew, they played a huge part in it for me. I think, like I said, the show's great, and I feel the same way. I love to be able to watch the scenes, even if they're not the same from the book, but I think you could just feel, I don't know, something like a vibe from the cast and the crew. There's something about them that really, I don't know. I don't know if that's making sense or if you feel the same way, but
I get what you're saying, and I do feel very similarly about this. I think the fact that the casting people were able to get such a close knit group of people that just have so much chemistry together just really added that little extra thing to the show that they really needed.
yes, I definitely agree. And what would you have liked to have seen in a season 3?
I obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is what happened in that cliffhanger from season 2 with the graduation. I feel like that's a pretty obvious answer, but it leads so many questions with the necklace. And
I know. And I know Erica had said that Bronwyn, like, she was okay, she was alive, which that's good to hear. But now I'm just so intrigued. What led to that point?
my first thought when I watched the episode before Erica said that was that Bronwyn died, and I really didn't want to see that, and I'm glad that she didn't.
Yeah. No, I'm very glad she didn't because I was honestly getting worried for a little bit there. I know like Marianne had said in an interview like she's gonna be okay, but then I was like there'd be other ways to keep Mari on the show
Yeah,
and Bronwyn.
flashbacks and stuff.
Exactly. Like they could have kept Bronwyn on the show somehow, even or Marianne on the show, even though Bronwyn had died. So I
Yeah.
was starting to get worried about that. But I agree. I would have loved to see what led up to that. And then I think I would also have really liked to see just more of Murder Club and the characters and like their interpersonal connections and friendships. Because I think season 2 did that very well.
Yeah, I would have loved to see at the very end of season 2, they mentioned that Nate is now living in Janae's pool house, and I would have loved to see more of that dynamic.
Yes, I think that would have been funny, especially if Maeve and Janae stay together, and then if Bronwyn and Nate stay together, kind of having that dynamic too. And especially because Nate was the one who had given Janae the pills back in season
Yes,
1.
absolutely. I feel like it's a really interesting way that they ended their like the relationship between Janae and Nate, and then also with all their past history and all their other connections and all that stuff.
Yes, no, I agree. That would have been great to see. Well, Mars, thank you so much for such a great interview. And yeah, just thanks again. This was such a great time, and I love talking about Maeve.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.